Hey everyone, my name is Anna, and almost 1 year ago, my partner and I have moved from Toronto to Montreal, and in this video I wanted to summarize the positives and some negatives that we have observed so far. Current economic situation is just tough. A lot of people are looking for a more affordable living. I'm hoping that this video might help someone in a similar position that we were in basically 1 year ago. Before we start, just a disclaimer, probably a lot of Montrealers are gonna watch this video, and I just want to mention that everything I'm gonna say today is strictly my point of view and it might differ from yours. Please just keep that in mind, and if anything, just don't hate me, please. Let's start with who we are and why we decided to move in the first place. As I mentioned before, my name is Anna and I have moved to Toronto from Russia in 2018. My partner is a few years older than me and he actually ended up living in Toronto for 10 years. We both came there as immigrants. We've been through college and everything. The start of our careers also happened in Toronto. So I want to address one question at the very beginning so that it's clear. When we made the decision to move to Montreal, we were both remote workers employed for Toronto company that also has an office in Montreal. So that was basically a main point that supported our decision. We felt comfortable in our employment. We knew that even if we leave the province, we won't be in a situation where we would need to look for some other job and then have all those complications. So us being remote basically allowed us to relocate. Now onto why we decided to move, and the answer is not going to surprise you. Toronto got unimaginably expensive, so expensive that it actually makes you depressed. For those who are familiar with Toronto, we used to live in downtown area, more on the west side in Liberty Village, and some people might say that it's an upscale area and the rent is usually higher there. Maybe it was like that before, but in reality that we lived in, rent prices were crazy high pretty much everywhere. Even if you go somewhere up north out of the TTC reach, rent might not even differ much, which is completely ridiculous. We lived in a rental building that offered us 2 months off of the first year of lease, which, made the first year somewhat fine. And then at the lease renewal, price would have been bumped up to $2,600.
I declare bankruptcy!
$2,600 for a tiny little condo that had no den, no nothing. My office space was basically next to the bed, and my partner's office space simply did not exist. He worked on the couch the entire time, and honestly, for two people working from home, it was just a little bit unhealthy to continue that way. We definitely needed to expand the living situation, and looking at the market back then, it was just a pure depression. So we started brainstorming where possibly we could relocate. Montreal has always been on top of our minds. Even before we started dating, both of us wanted to try and live in Montreal. Everyone knows it's a beautiful city, and on top of that, it's been always cheaper than living in Toronto, or that's what we thought about it. We made a decision pretty fast to book the trip and just work with real estate agents to take a look at the Montreal rental market and just go and explore the city. As I said, we did work with real estate agent, but at the same time I was doing my own research. I was googling and looking at rental buildings where you can arrange apartment showing yourself, and you're going to be meeting with the leasing manager. Within 3 to 4 days, we ended up seeing around 7 apartments. Let me tell you, Montreal rental market is freaking nice. The layouts just make sense. I think we were just mind blown with how much more value you can get for your money. One of the most popular questions is rent in Montreal cheaper? And it is cheaper, yes, but more importantly, Montreal provides you with options. Certainly everything comes down to your preferences, which area you want to be at, how many bedrooms you're looking for, but here you can definitely go as low as $1,100 a month per 1 bedroom. Yes, it's going to be an older building, but still you have that option. Or an older house that is going to have 3 to 4 bedrooms and within $1,500, $1,700 a month. Now I'm just taking these examples from what we saw back in October 2022, and since then the prices also have increased a bit. However, my main point is that you can find all the types of places here. If you want a loft, like exposed brick wall and everything, you have that. If you want a modern condo, you can find that for reasonable for you price. All the places that we saw, we honestly liked a lot. Unfortunately, those places that we were touring with the real estate agent, the possession for them was immediate. It was back in October 2022. We would be able to move only in February next year. We absolutely needed that trip to make up our minds whether we're moving or not, but by some lucky circumstances, we ended up finding the apartment, this one, that we decided to sign the lease for March 2023. And how come that happened? This is the rental building and it was still under construction at the time when we had a showing. That gave us the possibility to lock this apartment, sign the lease for a much later date. All the details about the apartment are going to be in a separate apartment tour video that is coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, overall, is it cheaper to live in Montreal? And I'm gonna tell you a few things that you definitely have to consider before making a decision to move. First one, rent can be cheaper, but taxes. If I'm not mistaken, Quebec taxes are the highest in the country. We kind of approached it in a very unresponsible way. We knew the fact that the taxes are higher, but we didn't end up, actually calculating how much we're gonna be down as soon as we moved to Quebec. We were dumb, I know that, and I just want to tell you that don't do the same mistake. Make sure to understand what your exact income is gonna be if you leave the province. There are also ways how to be smart about it, and you can max up your RSP and FHSA accounts, all of those, but that's something that's gonna happen 1 year later. You would still get less money with your paycheck. The sales tax is a bit higher too. I think in Ontario it's 13% and here in Quebec it's 15%. You don't really feel that on small purchases, but when it comes to bigger purchases, it bugs me a little, I'm not gonna lie. I know if I'm getting this thing shipped to Ontario, I'm gonna save like $70. And this is something that you just have to, I guess, get used to. When it comes to transit, everyone's saying that transit system in Montreal is amazing, and it is indeed great. It is faster, it is definitely more reliable than TTC in Toronto. Depending on how much you would need to commute, it can be a little expensive because in Toronto, when you pay with your Presto card, it gives you a 2-hour window with a free transfer. So you can go to subway and then streetcar and then the bus and then back to subway and not pay for that 2-hour window. Here, unfortunately, every time you go in, you have to tap unless it's one same leg of your trip. If you go into the subway, you tap and then you transfer to the bus to get your final destination. I guess in these cases you're not supposed to pay again, but let's say I went in the subway, I was off in 2 stops and then I went back, I have to pay twice. Groceries are pretty much same. I can't say that some stuff is cheaper here and some stuff is more expensive in Toronto. I honestly think it is very comparable. There are a few markets in Montreal that are very nice, one of them being Atwater Market, not far from our place. This is definitely not the place where you go to save money. It's just a very nice and high quality market, similar to St. Lawrence. Then there is Jean Talon Market up north the city. That one is actually really good. During summer, there is so much fresh stuff, delicious stuff that you can choose from for very affordable money. Here, stores are different. You also have to find the ones that you're gonna like, but generally speaking, we don't notice any difference in how much we spend for the groceries. Next very hot topic is language. A lot of people ask me, do I really need French to be living in Montreal? And I'm gonna say that there are certainly areas that are more English speaking, such as downtown, Griffintown, Old Port mostly because of the tourists and all people that come to the city, and Westmount. And there are definitely areas that are more French speaking. We did not know it when we came here for apartment viewing. We kind of went based on place that we liked. We didn't really think much of an area, but it ended up being a quiet and English speaking area. area. Every time I go out, I hear a lot of people speak English, especially younger generation. I walk my dog and the person passes by and starts a conversation in English. I go to my barber shop where I hear people also speak a lot of English. However, if you go to the store and you call somewhere, 90% of the time you're being approached in French, and this is how it's supposed to be in a province where the official language is French. Therefore, I'd say that if you're not planning to find a job here and start your career here, you would probably be okay with the fundamental French level that's gonna help you get by in a city. But if you're planning to find a job in Montreal, or you really want to immerse yourself into the culture and get along with locals, then yes, out of respect and just out of your personal convenience, you would need French. There have definitely been instances when I wasn't able to reply back in French or explain myself clearly, and then I would obviously excuse myself and then ask in French if the person speaks English. We almost never had a negative situation in that sense. Everyone we've met, they've been really nice and welcoming and friendly. I think there was only one time when we went to Winners and we had a gift card which we had to pay with, and the lady at the cashier didn't understand what to do with the gift card, even though there was just like a QR code that you have to scan. So we tried to explain that to her. She didn't get it, and then we're like, sorry, do you speak English? And she was just like, no. And she didn't want to do anything with us. Like, she was not even trying to ask for another cashier or something to try and help the situation. So we kind of felt dumb, but that was the only time when it kind of wasn't comfortable. The rest of the time is just everyone is really nice. But I just want to say that if you are in a situation when you're talking to someone who is French speaking and there are some complications of understanding each other, just be very considerate and appreciative of the fact that that person is also making an effort to be communicating with you. Language is a very controversial topic in this province. Be mindful in interactions with people that you don't know, because for some, accommodating you in speaking English with you might be also uncomfortable, same as speaking French for you. So keep that in mind. We are trying to learn French.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je te call Blue.
No!
But we are so introverted. It's just me and him, and we are absolutely grateful for the place that we have and the fact that we can just create our micro world within. I don't feel an urge to be outgoing. I don't feel an urge to even talk to my colleagues a lot, which might be bad and it sounds a bit depressing, but I don't know. I think it's a certain stage in life. When you're 16, you have all of those friends and then you want to hang out all the time because your level of responsibility in life is very low at the time. Then you start getting all of those adult things. You start your career, you may be planning on starting a family. And so we've been through that thing, and now it feels like we are very limited to our close group of friends that we absolutely adore and cherish at all times. Unfortunately, they do live in Toronto still, so every time we go to Toronto, we socialize a lot, and then we come back, and this is kind of our time to grow, to work on our relationship, to explore our hobbies. Even the fact that I've started the YouTube channel specifically after moving to Montreal, a big part of that was I've got all of that free time that I could put into work. And in Toronto, it was very different. So to be completely transparent, I know that I'm not gonna be fluent in French. And for the bigger part, because it is not my priority at a time, we are still unsure if we're gonna be staying here long term. And that is not because we don't like Quebec. This is because we are still exploring options outside of Canada. As I mentioned, I came from Russia and my partner came from Ukraine. Whole another story, but one of our goals have always been to be closer to both of our families, and currently it is quite hard to do because we just don't know where to go. So we have dedicated this 2-year period for us to live in Quebec, experience it, and just see how we feel. And if by the end of it we decide that this is it, we buying a house here, we just having kids here, this is gonna be our home moving forward, and then I think yes, you are obligated to learn French just because you would have responsibility for your family, you would be interacting with governmental establishments. It would be just very, very difficult without knowing French. Moving on to negatives, I cannot say that there is a lot. One thing that comes to mind is Montreal is not as dog friendly as Toronto. There are certain limitations that really affect your day-to-day. For example, you are not allowed to take your dog into the subway without the muzzle, and that was also like a test project that they ran. I'm honestly not aware if now it's officially that you can only take the dog with the muzzle, or maybe they canceled the whole thing. But anyway, every time you go into the subway with the dog, they ask for the muzzle, and you know, my dog is tiny, so the muzzle for my dog, kind of like, it's ridiculous to be honest, because also the dog behaves well. It is mainly out of the safety reasons, and I'm also not supporting the fact when, you know, the giant ass dog goes to the subway and then it misbehaves and the owner cannot do anything. I think this is not about the dog being bad, it's about the owner being unresponsible. Hopefully the rule that is now applied to the metro is gonna limit people like that. But in our case, you know, the dog is well behaved. He's really small. He goes with us. He's like a little puppy. When we run into these complications, it's just annoying because in Toronto it was a no-brainer. We could take Mars with us pretty much anywhere, and also the area we're living in kind of lacking the dog parks and just open green spaces. Again, I'm comparing to what we had before in Ontario, and when we lived in Liberty Village, I feel like we had 4 to 5 parks around us that were beautiful, just open green space where the dog can run around and have fun. The walks for our dog, they were just like better quality and more efficient, more productive. You could run around, you could get tired and all that. If you do have a pet, you know what I'm talking about. This is also important for their physical and mental health, to be able to provide good quality walks. Also, just summarizing everything that I've said, it is hard to compare these two cities because they're pretty much uncomparable. They're so different. I love Toronto for being fast and vibrant. Sometimes I need boost up my energy, look at the fact that, you know, everyone's successful, you have to keep working, you have to like stay focused on your goals and everything. But most of the time I just love the calm and very cozy life that we have in Montreal. People are beautiful here. When I go to like downtown and Old Port, I just like people watching only because the fashion is there. Montreal is about beautiful architecture, people, and just wonderful, intimate vibe. Even though there are things that we had to adjust to, it's all worth it. Thank you so much for sticking till the end, and I hope that this video helps you if you are in the midst of deciding whether to move or not. Also, feel free to shoot me the questions that you have, and I'll try my best to, you know, assist in any way I can. Thank you again for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!